Through our reporting here at the Pick and Save in Mukwonago, we hope you learn what is defined as inventory, why inventory is important, the costs associated with inventory, as well as what independent and dependent demand are and how they apply to inventory. After covering the foundational concepts of what makes up the process of inventory, we are also going to cover what the fixed time period model is, how you can control inventory and utilize the cycle counting to optimize ordering, as well as how the inventory system is set up and implemented. This is Christina from Professor Supp's Operation Management class, live at the Mukwonago Pick and Save. Our reporters are on the scene to give you an in-depth look at the inventory process of a grocery store. Over to you, boys.
All right, here we are at the Mukwonago Pick and Save. I'm Chris Bach, and we're talking about inventory a little bit today. I am specifically going to talk about controlling inventory and going over our inventory system a little bit here at Pick and Save.
My name is Casey Crombie. I'm going to give you a definition of inventory and 5 purposes of inventory.
My name is Dakota Broad. I will be discussing the cost of inventory and independent versus dependent demand.
My name is Danny Bognar, and I will be covering fixed time period model.
Inventory is a stock of any item or resource used in an organization. An inventory system is a set of policies and controls that monitor levels of inventory and determine what level should be maintained, when stock should be replenished, and how often and how large orders should be. There are 5 purposes of inventory. The first is to maintain independence of operations. The second purpose is to meet variation in product demand. An example of this would be if something goes on sale in the store, the inventory of that item will increase. The third purpose is to allow flexibility in production scheduling. An example of that from this store would be the deli department getting all the materials needed to make salads and pasta so they can make the pasta whenever they want. The fourth purpose is to provide a safeguard for variation in raw material delivery time. This is an example of that. The store will be, if a delivery truck is late, the store will have a safeguard of inventory on hand. And the last purpose of inventory is to take advantage of economic purchase order size. You want to keep order costs low, so you want to order large orders and as few orders as possible.
Regarding inventory costs at Pick and Save, there are 2 main holding costs. The first is breakage, because they receive so many products every day and some of the packages are likely to be broken or damaged. And also obsolescence, because products like milk or cheese, they expire. Ordering costs, they used to be a lot more substantial back before computers, when managers had to go through and order items manually. But now computer software does it for them. Once a product reaches a certain amount, the software automatically reorders that item for them. And most products in a grocery store have independent demand. Just because you order milk doesn't mean you have to order cereal. That's different from, say, a manufacturing plant that manufactures cars, where if they have demand for 1,000 cars, that means they have to order 4,000 tires.
Pick and Save utilizes a fixed time period model where inventory is counted only at particular times. For instance, this is a desirable system because Kemp's, a supplier who provides Pick and Save with their line of milk products, will come to Pick and Save and take orders for their products. This is beneficial for Pick and Save because they may be able to combine orders with other businesses to save money on transportation costs. Although this does require Pick and Save to have more safety stock on hand, this model allows them to generate order quantities that vary from period to period, depending on usage rates. So, for instance, a holiday is coming up, and Pick and Save knows demand will increase. They're able to plan for it and order more as needed. The fixed time period model can be applied using the following equation. Q, which represents the quantity demanded and will also be the amount needing to be ordered, equals D, which is the forecast average daily demand,
times T plus L, where T stands for the number of days between reviews and L represents the lead time or time between placing an order and receiving it. All of this gets added to Z, which is the number of standard deviations for a specified probability, times the standard deviation of T plus L, which is the standard deviation of demand over the review and lead time. This all is then subtracted by I, which is the inventory currently on hand. The fixed time period model equation, which we just reviewed and can be seen above, can be used to assist establishments with how much stock they need to order to satisfy demand. This can be applied to Pick and Save in a hypothetical situation of ordering eggs. Pick and Save orders their eggs in things called racks, which contain about 30 cartons of eggs. In this example, Q equals D, which is going to be 3/7, since Pick and Save typically orders 3 racks of eggs per week, and since this number needs to be in days, that 3 is divided by 7 days. This gets multiplied by T plus L, where T is going to equal 7, because Pick and Save reviews its egg stock once weekly, plus L, which is 1, because there is 1 day between placing an order and receiving it. All of this gets added to Z, which is going to be 1.65, which is the number of standard deviations based on a 95% probability rating. That is then multiplied by the standard deviation of T plus L, which can be calculated by taking the square root of T plus L times the standard deviation of demand squared. In this case, we will take the square root of T, which is 7, plus L, which is 1, multiplied by the standard deviation of demand, which we will set at 1 for the sake of this case, and that gets squared. Using some simple arithmetic, this comes to the square root of 8, which equals about 2.82. So we will use that number to place into our formula up here. All of what we have so far then gets subtracted by I, or the current level of inventory. In this case, it will be 3 racks. With some simple arithmetic, we can calculate that the quantity demanded, so Q, is going to equal 5.09. So Pick and Save will know that they need to order 6 racks in order to satisfy the demand for that week.
Cycle counting is a physical inventory taking technique where inventory is taken frequently instead of once or twice a year. Now here at Pick and Save, we do have inventory mainly once or twice a year, but sometimes we, on our own initiative, take a look at inventory more than once or twice a year. We do it periodically when we're filling stock. So one of the things we do, once we work the pallet here, we know the shelves are either full or empty. So sometimes we'll take a look at the numbers here out with the gun. We'll check the inventory. And the gun here gives me a number saying how much is in the back and how much we have totally. Now the difference between the two is what's on the shelf. So if we know the shelf is full, there's usually about 12 or so, or if there's more than one shelf, we can figure that out and figure out if the inventory count in the system computer is accurate or not. And if it isn't, we can change it. That's it. Alright, now I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about how we control inventory here at Pick and Save and some of my duties as an employee. one of the things we have to do every afternoon is we have to do the out of stocks, where you walk around the entire department and scan with the gun anything that is empty. So over here we can see that the Roundy's crescent rolls are empty. I scan it, it comes up and it says empty shelf, and I just click that, and then that sends that to the computer that says that this is out of stock on the shelf, we don't have any around, and there shouldn't be any in the back. But a manager will go through and double check and look and make sure everything is zero, and then make sure that out of stock gets put in as zero in the inventory management system. Another process we go through to check inventory is a thing called exception batches. Whenever an item in inventory comes back as negative, it means we sold more than we actually had on hand. So whenever the computer recognizes a negative number, it sends us an exception batch to do every day. So you have to go in the computer and select the exception batch for each department, click on it, and then you scan whichever item corresponds with the exception batch. And you have to scan the shelf, any displays, and in the back room to make sure everything is counted in all three spots where a product can be. Once you go through all the exception batches, you should have to type in the correct inventory, how much you have, and then that'll reset the inventory system to the correct numbers for each product in the exception batch. The last inventory duty that I have to do each day is called shrink. And whenever there's a damaged product, it's called shrink. So every afternoon I have to pick up all the damaged items in the department and scan them out. So I go into the gun and create a shrink account. I scan out the damaged item. It takes that item out of inventory and creates how much money, revenue, that it takes out of our system.
To recap, we defined inventory and answered the questions of why inventory is important, talked about the costs associated with inventory, as well as what independent and dependent demand are and how they apply to inventory. In addition, we also covered foundational concepts of what makes up the processes of inventory, what the fixed time period model is, how the inventory system is set up and implemented, and how you can control inventory and utilize the cycle counting to optimize ordering. We hope you enjoyed our reporting here today and learned something new about a process that takes place around us every day.